Have yourself a day, Haley Money Hart. Let's recap her performance against McNeese here on Ragin Rundown. What's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into another episode here on Ragin Rundown, the show where you will know all things UL sports. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, but you know you can always call me Fitz. And in today's episode, we will be recapping softball's midweek victory over McNeese and baseball's midweek win over the Southeastern Lions. Let's start off with the ladies. And coming into this one, McNeese entered with the 32nd best RPI in the entire country, according to D1 softball. And so Coach Habits, coming into the week, she mentioned how important this game was. She said that this was one of the biggest games that they were going to have on their schedule because it's an in-state foe. It's a team with a better RPI than you and a better RPI nearly than everybody else in your entire conference other than Marshall, who's right above them at 31. So having that on top of the strength of schedule that you had in non-conference play, being able to do that and have some momentum heading into another weekend in Sun Belt Conference play was huge for you. And the Cajuns were able to handle business as they picked up a 5-2 victory over the Cowgirls. They moved to 20-13 on the season. They don't waste any time in this one. This game was decided early because of both great hitting and great pitching. So let's go ahead and do our hat tip, salute, clap, clap, all of those great things for Ms. Haley Money Hart. She has been what her nickname is, and she's continued to prove that time in and time out every single time she steps up to the plate. And tonight's game, as I'm recording this here on Tuesday night, after the game, tonight's performance was no different than anything that she's done throughout this season. She goes 3 for 3. She has 2 home runs, 3 RBI. She was locked in from pitch 1, solo shot in the first, then comes back in the second and does it again. Brooke Otto would also add a 2-run homer in this one. The lineup went back-to-back with some great impact early, some power hitting, like we've talked about multiple times in multiple episodes. This team does not have a problem with adding crooked numbers there on the scoreboard because they have quality hitters that have great plate discipline, that know when to swing at the right pitch and can make it go out of the yard. You get 3 runs there in the first. Haley Money Hart gets a solo homer. Brooke Otto comes right in behind her. And then, like I said, Haley Hart gets another home run there in the second. Now, McNeese did answer. Corinne Poncho gets a home run. Give credit to McNeese for coming with a response. They're a quality ball club, and you're going to have to see them again later down the line when you go to their place. And you're going to need to win that one as well. But credit to them. They responded. But after that, it was nothing. And the reason that is because Bethany Noble has continued to be a steady mainstay for you. She goes 5 1/3 inning. She allows the 2-run homer, but that's it. Sage Hoover comes in and slams the door shut. That combination, like what we've talked about before, that is what you are hanging your hat on right now when it comes to players out of the bullpen. Julianne Tipton is able to come in and can give you some sparing moments with some shutout innings. Bailey Mackles is going to come into her own as a young freshman as time continues to progress. And you're just trying to find where you can squeeze Lexi Delbray in there to give you a good relief when she's having great moments. But right now you're hanging your hat on Bethany Noble and on Sage Hoover. And they've been a really, really good tandem for you. It'll be interesting to see how Coach Habits will utilize them for this weekend, obviously because you're playing here on Tuesday, so you have a couple days of rest that you have in between. We'll see how they're able to do that. The takeaway from this one is that you use the perfect formula, that if you play to this formula, you're going to win a bunch of games. Early offense, great pitching. That formula, being able to jump on teams early and let your pitching carrying you the rest of the way, is the perfect recipe for a successful win every single time. So kudos to the ladies picking up that 5-2 victory and improving to 20-13. So now they will be on to take on ULM. They will head there for a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Friday first pitch is at 6 p.m. So it should be an exciting one to see how they'll handle business as they go on the road there in Sun Belt Conference play. Once again, hat tip to Haley Money Hart, who is continuing to be a superstar for you. And hopefully we will get a chance to see her do it many, many more times in the vermilion and white. I'm going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to talk baseball and how some of the cobwebs of not having the offensive firepower that they would have liked was able to be shaken off a little bit as they were able to pick up a midweek victory over Southeastern. We'll break it all down when we come back here on Ragin Rundown. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Ragin Rundown. We're going to get back into the action in just a second. But before we do, please do me a favor. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please like it, share it, leave a comment down below. And most importantly, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you know when we're dropping episodes and you don't miss a single thing. If you're listening, please follow the podcast feed, rate the show, and leave us a review because that'll help us get in front of more Ragin Cajun fans just like yourself. Ragin Cajuns baseball came into their midweek contest with Southeastern after being swept on the road by Texas State after they were ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 2024. So you were coming off the highest of high. You come into the week, you smelling yourself, you're feeling real good, you know what I'm saying? And you beat Houston there in midweek action going into extra innings to pick up the win. And then Texas State knocks you off your high horse. You have problems in the bullpen on the back end, closing games out, and you're not able to produce any offense. So what you needed to see was a solid offensive performance from your club and solid enough pitching to make you feel comfortable enough about what you have going into the weekend, right? They were able to do that. They had high energy, early on. The runs didn't come in the first 3 innings, and then they had a huge fourth. Louisiana would get the 9-3 victory over Southeastern. They move on to 17-8, and the game was controlled by that one inning that we talked about. It comes down to a couple of swings and a couple of plays made there in the 4th inning. You go and score 6 runs in that inning. There was a lot of chaos that happened. You had some hit batters, some walks, and then some timely hits. It all started with Rigoberto Hernandez. Bases were loaded. You have an opportunity that you have runners in scoring position. And it has been something that offensively they have struggled with, of not having strong enough plate appearances, not having good enough plate discipline to wait on the right pitch, to know when to swing at it, to get the one that you really want in order to drive in runs that are in scoring position. Rigoberto Hernandez was able to do that. He gets a 2-run double that puts you up 2-0. Then after that, I believe it was Drew Marco that had an RBI single. And then Jace LaCava, who Coach Deggs talked about on Monday in his media availability, both him and Josh Lim, who had great games. He talked about both of them, of how he believes that they can really be something that gives them a spark in the lineup, something that they haven't seen thus far this season. And they were able to do that. Jace LaCava gives you a 2-run single. So now you're up in this inning 6-0. You were aggressive on the base pad, stealing bases like you always do, and being able to drive in those runs. That inning wasn't just productive, it was relentless. They didn't need a ton of hits to get it done. They just kept putting pressure on the Southeastern bullpen. And that's ultimately what you want to do. When we talked to Jace LaCava after the game, I asked him, was this the type of baseball that he believes that they could be? And he said, yes, like this is packed baseball. This is what we want to do. We want to make it so uncomfortable for the opposing team, and so much chaos is going on that they don't know what hit them. And they were able to do that, especially there in that inning. Josh Lim adds a 3-run homer there in the 7th, and that was pretty much the dagger. Kudos to Southeastern for continuing to fight. Right? They were struggling early on, trying to figure out Ty Roman. They thump him pretty good, and they get 3 runs in there. But then Josh Lim hits the knockout blow there in the 7th with that 3-run homer. Coach Deggs kind of compared him to Jose Altuve with the style that he is, saying that he's a really, really strong guy, even though he's very small. And we got to see some of that power. So if you're continuing to have success from a guy like Jace LaCava and a guy like Josh Lim, if you're able to still get quality defense from them, and they're able to come in big moments with their bats, you may have to shake some things up in the outfield. And a lot of times you're not going to, agree with those decisions from a fan standpoint. You might not agree with them, but if that's what's going to give you the product, scoring that many runs in a season where you haven't been a team that scored that many runs, a lot of the games you've been in have been 4-3 and 3-2 and 4-1 type of victories. You got to be able to go with that. If your defense and pitching is able to hold up. Now, if they get in there and you start having errors and things start unraveling on the defensive end, you have to. Defense is going to win you a championship. So you have to continue to put in guys that are going to make great defensive plays. But if they can balance it between great defense and a great offensive attack as well, you got to keep riding the hot hand. And it might hurt some guys' feelings. That's okay, but that's a part of the game, and that's ultimately what you want to do to be able to win a championship. Ty Roman gave you a solid start. He goes 5 1/3, 3 earned runs allowed. I think 4 punch outs for him. Cody Brash comes in and shuts the door. Roman gives you stability here in the midweek. Obviously, he started the season as your Friday night starter, but now he's giving you some strong stability in those midweek games when he shows up. And Cody Brash has been a solid closer for you multiple times. I believe it was a bases loaded instance when he finally came into the game, and he slammed the door shut. He was able to handle things and kind of kill that rally that Southeastern was kind of on for a second, and was able to silence it really good for you. And so that's important. Coach Diggs said after the game that he may shake some things up on the weekend, that he could potentially have Ty Roman and Cody Brash available on Friday or Saturday. So there's no telling what we're going to see in the bullpen on the weekend. Obviously, Sawyer Pruitt is still going to run out. Andrew Herman is still going to be a quality availability for you. But there's no telling. If these guys continue to pitch really well and can show that they can get outs, that they can fill up the strike zone, have great command, and that they don't waste their pitches, again, it might not be some things that guys like, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do to be able to win games. So the Cajuns win despite only having 6 hits. They scored 9 runs. They were disciplined. They had pressure that they created on the offensive side of things. It was just really encouraging to get that win after the type of weekend that you had getting swept, because it shows that Louisiana doesn't need to rely on a lot of hits, but just big hits to be able to manufacture the runs that they need to ultimately win games. So kudos to baseball picking up a 9-3 victory over Southeastern, and also kudos to softball for picking up a huge midweek victory against McNeese as well to round out the midweek action as they will head into conference play. Baseball also will play against ULM. They'll play them at the T. It'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. First pitch on Friday will be at 6. Softball is on the road Friday, Saturday, Sunday. First pitch on Friday will be at 6 as well against the Warhawks. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that, and we'll hear all about it right here on Ragin Rundown. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much. Please do me a favor. Please like the video, share it, and leave a comment down below, because that will help us get in front of more Ragin Cajun fans just like yourself. But make sure you're also subscribed to the channel so you know when we're dropping episodes. If you're listening, follow the podcast feed, rate the show, and leave us a review. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. We'll see you guys next time.